You want a mid-range phone that does almost everything but doesn't cost four figures, right? These two are likely near the top of your list. The hot off the press OnePlus 13R and Google's more established Pixel 8a. It really isn't as simple as you think. This one is gonna be a belter. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and mid-range phones are really important. They are what most people will be buying because spending £1,000 on a smartphone, as much as it has been normalised, is still pretty insane. These phones are far more affordable. The 13R comes in at $599 for the base 256GB model, where the 8A starts at $499 for the 128GB model. But I've also seen it at $399 on Best Buy, so it's clearly the cheaper model and has benefited in this head-to-head from being out for a few months, with a potential $200 difference between these two, as long as you don't need 256 gigs of storage. And to be brutally honest, this price difference is, well, easily felt in the hand the second you pick these things up. Though the Pixel 8a has the higher IP67 water and dust resistance rating compared to the IP65 of the 13R, the script flips after this spec point because the 13R's glass back is just a level above the scratchy plastic of the 8a, and the perception of quality disparity carries over to the side rails. The crazy difference in bezel size, the fact the 13R has the staple and personally very much appreciated 3-stage alert slider, it's not even a comparison in my opinion. Sure, the looks are divisive, and I don't think either is going to win a design award for the best looking smartphone ever, but the 13R feels like a phone that could be double the cost of the Pixel 8a, including haptics, speaker quality, fingerprint scanner speed. It's all there for the 13R. Which is interesting because the software, by comparison, is a completely different story. The 13R's Oxygen OS skin is pretty good and has had some solid AI features implemented for stuff like photo augmentation, but it can't compete with the insane long-term viability of the Pixel 8a's Pixel Experience software, and it lacks some of Google's first-party camera tools like Audio Eraser, which might or might not matter to you. So as you can probably predict before you even clicked on this video, the Pixel 8a wins the software crown of these two. But once again, and similarly to the 12R versus the 8a that I did back last year, the performance is the opposite. The 13R is using last year's flagship Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip, which really isn't that old, and it translates to a phone that feels as fast, if not faster, than some flagships from last year, without that additional potential cost of using the Snapdragon 8 Elite, which this year is supposedly going to cost the manufacturers a lot more than the 8 Gen 3 did. It is absolutely rapid, which perhaps would sway you to use it over the lesser Tensor G3 on the Pixel 8a. Now, that isn't called the Pixel Slow because it just isn't, but more importantly, if you plan on holding onto your phone for multiple years and not just one or two, the 8 Gen 3 and the 13R is going to keep the phone lasting faster for longer, where my Pixel 7a, which I still use as a teleprompter screen, is feeling incredibly slow after just over a year of usage. So that's food for thought. It's not all about benchmarks and immediate performance, but how long is it going to hold up going down the line? And my OnePlus 12R unit is still absolutely rapid. And this sort of translates to battery life. Look, there aren't many phones that can come close to the OnePlus 13R's battery life. It's a 6,000 mAh battery. It's just phenomenal and is a 2-day phone for me every single time. Where the 8A is still a 1-day phone, it's still very solid, but it's just not at the same level. And if you're in the States, you should get the 80-watt charger in the box with the 13R, where you don't in the EU due to that law. The battery experience with the correct chargers for these two phones makes the 13R just leagues better, and a no-brainer from this perspective, as long as you don't rely on wireless charging though, because despite the glass back, the 13R doesn't have that, but the 8A does. OnePlus has made comparing these two screens very simple for me because the 13R just has the better panel in pretty much every single way you can think of. It's brighter, though only noticeably so in HDR. Normally browsing around, watching normal content, sending messages, they are basically the same in terms of brightness, at least from my testing. The 13R's panel is also bigger, feels a bit more responsive, though this could be due to performance, not necessarily the screen, and is sharper, though at this size you really do have to have insane vision to be able to tell the difference in sharpness. Being the bigger screen, it's also just made for watching videos and playing games, which will come as no surprise. The 8A's panel is more than good enough, especially for its price point. I have no issues beyond the off-axis viewing angles, but realistically, who's viewing their screen off-axis all the time? But the 13R's panel is just better. I think most people expect the Pixel to absolutely wipe the floor with the OnePlus in terms of its cameras, because of the historically pretty average ones found in the cut down R models of the past, but I was actually quite surprised with the results of this head-to-head, to be totally honest. Similar to both companies' higher end models, there is a trend between the images of these two camera systems that makes itself incredibly clear quite early on. The OnePlus 13R shoots the brighter images across the board with more saturation, more vibrance, digital sharpening, and contrast, which makes the stills pop out immediately. It's not super egregious, but still less natural and less like what I saw with my real eyes than what the Pixel captured, which comparatively has quite a subdued palette. This carries its way through the sensors, the lenses, even the video modes, where the 13R just gives you that instant pop, and the Pixel 8a gives you the more natural looking imagery. That 2 times on the back of the OnePlus 13R is doing some serious work though, as it takes far sharper images when pinching in compared to the Pixel 8a's camera, which surprises me because Google's Super Res Zoom has been pretty good in the past few years, but the results just speak for themselves, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Not only are the 8a's images more natural, but I found consistency and cohesiveness across all lenses and sensors just to be that much better with the Google phone. So if you want good color matching from the main, ultra wide, and even the selfie, the Pixel is going to be your best bet. The Pixel 8a has definitely grown on me since it released, probably mainly due to the price drops, because at $400 or sometimes even cheaper, it just feels a way better deal and means that those thick ugly bezels, subpar performance specs, and generally quite toy-like feeling in the hand can be justified. And its super long-term software support makes it a viable option to those who just want to hold on to their phone for a few years. And whilst I think the $100 price hike to the 13R has made it less of a slam dunk compared to its predecessor, even though the base storage has been doubled to 256GB, it's still up there as one of the best mid-ranges you can buy right now, with immense performance, battery life, and some decent cameras, really superb build quality, and that always appreciated alert slider. It's worth noting that there are certain trade-in deals that you can get in certain parts of the world for the OnePlus 13R, but they're not available to everyone, so I can't really include them as part of the whole value situation. The 13R takes this one for me, but if you want to save a couple of $100 and care more about software than hardware, I have zero issue in recommending Google's Pixel 8a. Let me know in the comments which one of these two you'd be picking. I'm sure as the Android police audience, you're probably all going to go for the 13R because it just has better performance. But I don't know, I think it's closer than a lot of people think, especially when you use these things long term. It's always great to have the community's opinions, and I love hearing them. So whilst you're down there in the comments, also please feel free to subscribe to never miss another upload, and hit like button if you really enjoyed today's content. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I will catch you later. Cheers.